If you're just joining us, this is News Now on News Central. One of our top story focuses on Maiduguri concerning the ongoing flood that's caused a lot of havoc there. We were joined earlier on by a man, Umaru Kirawa, giving us an insight into what's going on. But right now, I do have the Executive Director, Renovin Development Initiative, Philip Jakbo, joining me to look at this current development. Now, we understand that the floods began when a dam overflowed after heavy rains. Now, what are the primary factors contributing to the severe flooding in Maiduguri? And do you think there are underlying environmental issues, such as deforestation or climate change, that are exacerbating the impact of the floods?
Well, first things first, I want to thank you guys for having me on this very sad occasion. Sad in the sense that what we've seen happen in Maiduguri is something that was completely avoidable. A dam does not just get filled up in a day. It must have taken time, excessive rains, and then in civilized climes, what we see happen is that there's a gradual release of the waters so that you don't have the kind of devastation that we have seen. Because when a dam breaches, it causes even far more problems than if you are releasing the waters gradually. Because once you release it gradually, the water goes off. But unfortunately, I believe somebody or some people somewhere did not do their jobs well. So what we should have been hearing now is somebody resigning somewhere or somebody being sanctioned. But unfortunately, that's not what we are hearing. NEMA and the Nigeria Hydrological Services Agencies had warned for months that we're going to have this kind of flooding and the disasters we have now. Now, of course, we would normally talk of climate change. Climate change has its impacts, and climate change affects different regions of the world, even in the country, in different ways. We are talking about flooding in some parts of the country. Residents of Plateau State are praying for the rain to happen. So climate change, there are parts of the world that it's too hot. There are some parts of the world that has become so cold. The glaciers are melting. In our own climate, what we're experiencing is unusually heavy rains. But the issue of climate change ends there. Management of the waters, management of flood is the responsibility of our government working with the states. But what we have seen clearly, like I said, is a failure of governance, failure in terms of how the National Emergency Management Agency and its state counterparts work, failure in governments taking responsibility. Because when NIMET and Nigeria Hydrological Services Agencies warned, states were supposed to take proactive measures. That is when this dam will have been monitoring of this dam to see if the water gets to a level, what do? We start releasing waters. But that did not happen. And instead, what are we seeing now? We are seeing the vice president, of course, went there, and all the consolatory talks. These are afterthoughts. The devastation that has happened in that state is unquantifiable. And I want to predict something else. And this is very, very important, because we now see that the state government is distributing 10,000. By the time more people in those communities hear that the state government is distributing money in this crude way, there's likely going to be a stampede, and you might end up having more deaths. So we've watched it, we see people queuing up because they just started. By midday, you are going to hear that people have thronged that place. They are going to trample on, if it's not taking, trample on pregnant women, kids who are queuing up for that money. So we see clear failure of governance in what has happened, as far as I'm concerned.
All right. Your points have been made, but don't you think, personally, I think kudos should be given to the federal government for answering to the call of the people, especially when they made that call for help, and the vice president did get there on time. But aside that, we also got your point about the giving of 10,000 naira. Do you think that that's very important and necessary at this time? And we also have seen stories that bags of rice would equally be given. It seems like the bag of rice is one of the things that happens to be the first respondent, especially when there are situations bedeviling the people.
Well, my response will come, first of all, I am not personally satisfied with the fact that, yes, of course, the vice president has gone there, which, of course, should be expected. This is what happens when disasters that are avoidable happen. But there are things that should have been put in place before now. NEMA has been warning, civil society has been warning that some things should happen. We are talking about the dam in Maiduguri. We are not talking yet about the Alau Dam in Cameroon. If it's raining heavily in Cameroon, there's a likelihood they may also release waters. We are not hearing anything now. But by now, what we should be hearing, for instance, is that the federal government is liaising with the authorities in Cameroon to know if there's a likelihood that, because it's the same region, that flooding, excessive rains will also lead to release of waters from the Alau Dam. And if that happens and combines with what we're having today, then it's going to be a major crisis. I've said it several times on set before that flooding issue is a national security issue. And I wonder why we are not taking that serious. Because if you have war with another country and half of your country is underwater already, what will you do? And if we don't become serious, UK is not taking, some other countries nearby is going to use water as a weapon of war. So we are not thinking that's what is happening here. The vice president going there, okay, well, that is just a medicine after death. 10,000, I still repeat, I'm surprised that 10,000 could come out as fast as possible. Recall when the chief of staff to the president visited NEMA, I think some weeks ago. What did he say? He said something that is very, very instructive, that NEMA is supposed to be both proactive and ensure mitigation. Suddenly, NEMA and the state governments now have this obsession about rice sharing. That's what we're going to be hearing now. They've shared rice. So there's this obsession about rice going on. And the reason why that is happening is because bags of rice are going to be diverted.
Okay.
That is what has been happening.
Thank you so much, Mr. Philip Jakpo. Thanks for your thoughts concerning this story. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
All right.